Welcome back. In this video, we're talking about your audience manager. Very important place that a lot of awesome stuff happens in. So let's dive in. There are three types of core audiences. The first is called a custom audience. And a custom audience is basically a collection or source of people's previously recorded events and data. So that means like your website activity, your Facebook and Instagram pages, shopping activity, people on your Facebook or IG shop, customer lists that you may have of email addresses or purchases, video views, lead forms. There's a ton of different custom audiences, as you can see, we can make. The next type of custom audience is a lookalike audience. And a lookalike audience is a collection of new persons most like a source custom audience. So take any of those things we just talked about, website, Facebook page, shopping activity. We can create an audience that looks alike those sources. The last type of custom audience is a saved audience. And a saved audience is a collection of custom and or lookalike audiences and detailed targeting all in one audience. So it just kind of includes all of them in one. So now with that said, let's go to the audience manager. So click the link below the video to get to your business manager. And once you get to either your overview page or your settings page, you're going to come to the left to audiences, or you can always come up to the business tools dot and get to audiences this way. So when you get to your audience manager, yours is probably going to be blank, but as you can see, I've created some custom and lookalike audiences here. This one was made off of page engagements, this one off of video engagements. Cool, we'll get to that. But the point of this video is to show you the cool management tools here that allow us to organize all this and see it if this ever did get extensive. Also, to create new audiences. That's the main purpose here. So let's start with that. If you click Create Audience, you're going to see these types of audiences we just talked about. The first being Custom Audience, which allows you to connect with people who have already shown interest. The Lookalike Audiences, like we said, reaches new people who are similar to audiences who've already connected with. And then we have Saved Audiences, which allows you to basically combine any of those with detailed targeting. Now, if you're saying, Michael, I thought you said there were only 3. I see 4. What about special ad audience? Here's the thing. The way that you'd set this up is just like lookalike audiences. And this is really related to the kinds of ads or audiences you're using. For example, if we click on it, you can see this is really for use if you're offering people credit lines, employment, or housing opportunities. So if you were doing that, you would come here and it looks exactly like lookalike. But starting here with custom audiences, you can see all these things we just talked about, how you can create them from website activity or from an Instagram or Facebook page or video views or your shopping on your Facebook and Instagram shop, right? So all of these audiences you can create allows you to capture that data of people who were warm, who converted, right? If you chose website, you'd be able to choose what they did on your site. Did they convert? Did they add to cart? Those would be types of audiences you'd like to make and then look alike, right? Because you want to find more people who purchased and added to cart. It's the same theory across all of this. In order to create one of these collections of the data in any of these sections, you need to have a certain amount of recorded data. And that number is around 1,000. You need 1,000 page visits, 1,000 Instagram or Facebook engagements, 1,000 add to carts, etc. So that gives them enough source data to then remarket to and use to target new people who look alike. Now, if you're thinking, wow, that's a big number, how could I get that for some of my goals, right? Don't worry, because that's the amount they want you to have to shoot for, but your ads can still run if you don't have that. But we're about to get into how we're going to develop it so we can later. 2 other things to note here. First, you see how customer list is grayed out? That's because this is on a new ad account and they want to see us follow their policies for a few weeks before they allow us to upload our own customer list. Now, if you're new, you probably don't have a customer list, so it's not going to bother you for right now. If you do have a previous list that you would love to upload, right, because it's got your previous data, then use the platform for a few weeks, follow the rules, and this is going to open up right to you. And then the last important thing to note about this is that this is where we're going to be able to remarket to those who've engaged with us before, right? Let's say people engaged with your page, they visited your website, or they added to cart, but they didn't purchase. This is how we can isolate those people in that part of the funnel and serve remarketing to them as well. But now moving on to lookalike audiences, how this is set up is first we pick our source. And so here were some of these custom audiences I have made. So if we picked one, then we would choose the country. And since we're in the United States, that's where we would choose. And quick note, I believe Facebook is actually about to change this, so it will be automatic. So you might not have to choose audience location at some time in the future if you're seeing this video. And the last thing is you choose the percentage of which you want them to target the most lookalike. 1% is the highest chance of being most like it, right? Because it's within 1% who look most like your source. Whereas 10% is the people who are most broad apart from your source. So professional practice is to always start at 1 or 2%. Never go higher than 1 or 2% to start when you use a lookalike. We will talk about this later, but over time, we will expand that and increase it as we see it working at the lower percentage first. Moving on. In saved audience, this is where we can choose the custom audiences we have made and or the lookalikes we have made here in one single grouped audience. And we can also add what's called detailed targeting. And these are all the different demographics, interests, and behaviors that Facebook allows us to use in targeting. You see as well, they allow us to choose gender and age. We also will talk about this in the coming video when we dive into how we develop our strategy to start running our ads. Next, let's run over these few fields that help us organize and locate our audiences. First is by status. If your audiences are being used in any active ads, you'd click it, they'd show up. We don't have any active now, so they're not showing. Recently used. If you had shared an audience, this would show up here. Type is if you want to see custom audiences or lookalike ones or just saved ones. We don't have any, so that is empty now. And by availability, you can see if they are ready to be used, not ready, or have any errors. If you look at these audiences here to the right, you can see that they are ready to be used. And lastly, here we have source. And this is basically the source of the custom audience or the lookalike that you set. So for example, I have one for video. So if I click video, it's going to show the ones I have for video. If I click page, it's going to show the audience that I used where a page was the source. You see? And so these tools right here are just to help us be organized and to locate our audiences if this were to ever get pretty extensive, which it can and most likely will over time. And that sums up this video. I know I've said this a million times, but this is such an awesome tool, how we're going to use it to not just get off the ground and get our account moving, but to scale it and to grow over time. So get familiar with your audience manager, with creating different audiences, because we are going to be using it moving forward.